to appeal that sentencing. Now, that sentencing of Joseph Irungu, alias Joey, to death has elicited mixed reactions on the legality of the sentence, with some holding that it has been declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of Kenya in a landmark ruling back in the year 2017. Although the verdict of the Apex Court has not been vacated, the courts continue to hand down the ultimatum to that. Now, that is a sentence for murder, with a rider that the Supreme Court had only legalized the mandatory part of the death penalty. But what sets the two apart? Emmanuel Toh examines.
Joseph Kuria Irungu, alias Joey, shall suffer death.
It is a verdict that has opened a heated debate on the emotive and sensitive discussion about death sentences in Kenya.
This is because, and I want to lay emphasis on what I'm just about to read.
Justice Grace Nzioka, who handed Joseph Joey Irungu a death sentence for killing businesswoman Monica Kimani, explaining why she still gave the sentence after the Supreme Court verdict that nullified it.
The only thing that case did was to declare, and I will put it clearly, that the mandatory, and I will repeat, the mandatory nature of the death sentence is unconstitutional, and that it did not declare the death sentence unconstitutional.
Section 204 of the Penal Code states that any person who of malice aforethought causes death of another person by an unlawful act or omission is guilty of murder. It goes ahead to say any person who is convicted of murder shall be sentenced to death. However, a landmark ruling by the Supreme Court in December 2017 declared the mandatory nature of the death penalty unconstitutional.
Yes.
So the ones that are being handed down are not effective?
The courts can continue to hand them down, the death sentences, but it is all in vain because I don't think anyone is ever going to be executed.
Minority Leader in the National Assembly, Opiyo Wandayi, is one of the legislators pushing for the repealing of Section 204 of the Penal Code for contravening human rights.
My bill seeks to abolish death sentence altogether and to have it replaced with a life sentence.
But what are the differences between the two sentences? 2 months ago, the Court of Appeal capped life imprisonment in Kenya at 30 years. On the other hand, the death sentence ends when the convict dies or when the president commutes it to a life sentence. The primary method of execution in the US, for instance, have been hanging, electrocution, the gas chamber, firing squad, and lethal injection. In Kenya, it was primarily by hanging. Those on death row have 24-hour security in solitary confinement with minimal time in the sun, while their life sentence counterparts have relatively lower scrutiny. During their tenures, retired Presidents Mwai Kibaki in 2009 and Uhuru Kenyatta in 2016 changed the sentences of all death row inmates to life imprisonment. It will be seen whether President William Ruto will follow suit on hundreds of inmates currently in death row. It has been 37 years since the last execution, where Hezekiah Ochuka and Pancras Oteo Okumu were given to the hangman for treason after attempting a coup against President Daniel Moi's regime in 1982. Emmanuel Toh, KT News, Nairobi.
Well, the sentencing of Joey Irungu was not the only big news today.